Water is a basic need for human beings, and without it, a lot of other diseases come in.
The Rotarians in Signani Central, it was their appeal to focus on a disease called Brule ulcer. When we partner, we come up with the right answers and the right ideas.
Rotary has provided more drinking sources of water than any single NGO in Ghana.
Committee no yajuma ebe no se di Ghana ebe hwe nsu na ma atimi achere amayen.
We have done more than 50 boreholes and have gone into so many communities.
When a Rotarian makes a promise, people here truly believe that we'll keep that promise.
Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, where Tulsa's finest business and community leaders come together each week to do good things here in Tulsa and around the world. Thank you, Tom, for that music. We appreciate you, buddy. Yeah. So yesterday morning, I got up to go running my daily run, and it was 68 degrees. This morning, I get up to go running, and it's 22 degrees. So I like the warm weather much better. So as we take a moment to greet each other, let's share with those that you meet, are you a warm weather person or are you a cold weather person? Sarah, yeah. Okay, we've got a packed program today with our celebrity speaker today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Sarah Fry is going to lead us in our invocation. Andrew Ralston will lead us in our four-way test and pledge. And Ed Monette's going to introduce our visitors. Sarah?
Please join me in prayer. Dear God, thank you for this fellowship as we gather as Rotarians in service to our community and to one another. As the world says goodbye to Pastor Billy Graham today, please remind each of us that we too possess the power and the responsibility to be a light in the world. We ask your blessing on the 17 families who lost loved ones in the Florida high school shooting last week. Please pour down your mercy and comfort to everyone affected, including students, parents, teachers, and first responders. Help us to know each of us can be a first responder in prayer as we go through our daily lives and work to help those in need. Bless this food that it may nourish our bodies, and bless the hands that made it. We offer your thanks and praise now and always, and all God's people said, amen.
So it's a good thing that red badges such as me have good friends like Lou Ann down here, because I didn't know that you're supposed to preface the four-way test with, as a Rotarian, of the things we say and do. So just learn something new every day. So if you'll follow me in the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And now join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. In lieu of a speaker today, we're going to introduce visitors. My job was shortened just a little bit because our speaker, Taylor Hanson, will introduce about half the room that are his guests today, so I will, at least that saved me a little bit of this. As is our custom, I will introduce the Rotarian host and their guest. If you will briefly stand so we can take a peek at you, then sit back down. We will hold our applause till all have been introduced. Starting off, Rotarian Philip Viles has Byron Burke and Bill Clark. Bill is with the ministry and Byron is with Ryan LLC. Lindsay Martin with the Girl Scouts is a guest of Tiffany Egdorf. World famous Wayne Bradshaw is the spouse of Linda Bradshaw. Mike Lemus with Tulsa Community College is a guest of Tim Colwell. Danny Stockstill has brought Charles Screechow. Russ Gibbs has his sister and brother-in-law, Teresa and Randy Noble from Iowa. Deborah Cox with Summit Recruiting is here with Linda Baker. And honorary Rotarian Lee Goodson, TCC president, is a guest, I guess, of Paul Cornell. Rodney Robards has with him Shane Murray from Southern Hills Veterinary Hospital. John Stava has two guests, Vicki Patterson with Wigan Properties and Kurt Helen with Stava. Paul Cornell has another guest, Ronnie Freeman with Premier Capital. Ginger Homan is not the guest of her husband, but the guest of Karen McConnell. Danny Stockstill also brought Chelsea Reynolds. Chuck Wilson has as his guest Catherine Woodward with Copes. Peter Jansen brought Liz Greer with Youth Services of Tulsa. Brian Bovard has two guests, both with Camp Lockridge, Cheryl Cheadle and Reese Hundley. Courtney Neal with Mabry is the guest of Becky Fields. Deidre Kirtley has Corey Kirtley, an OSU student. That's too bad. And Christy Mason is Christy Mason is a guest of John Crouch. And Catherine DeCamp has three guests, John DeCamp, Joan Nidell, and Annie Tyndall. Let's give all our guests a Rotary welcome. We have two visiting Rotarians from Tulsa Sunrise, Philip Jackson. Hi, Philip. And from Sand Springs, Sean Ketcher. Thank you all for being here. Please come back.
Thank you, Sarah, Andrew, and Ed. Thank you very much. And welcome, visitors. We appreciate you getting out in the cold weather today. We hope you'll consider joining us. Rotary Club of Tulsa is a great place to work alongside Tulsa's best and brightest business and community leaders, and I promise you if you do that, you'll make some great friends while you're serving your community, so consider us. So now we want to thank this week's meeting sponsors whose sponsorships help defray the costs of running this big club. Roger Dunham with Accent Realty, Alicia Herrera and Mindy Strain with NBC Bank, Rod Robards with Southern Hills Veterinarian, and Tim Lyons with Tulsa Teachers Credit Union. We encourage you, as always, to do business with your fellow Rotarians. In addition to today's sponsors, let's also thank our meeting volunteers who help make sure this meeting runs smoothly each week. Thank you, volunteers. Okay, now one of my favorite things to do each week is to recognize a new Rotarian. So Barney James is going to introduce our newest returning Rotarian, Kevin Moore. Murray.
Yeah. It is with great joy that I get to reintroduce what I consider not only a longtime friend, but one of the nicest people in the world. Kevin Murray is the CFO of Credit Points Software. They extend and work with large companies to evaluate their vendors and their clients of creditworthiness and how to best manage that. He's a lifelong Tulsan. He's the middle child of 5 to Clay and Jane Murray. He and his wife Annette have 2 children, grown children, Andrew, who's a software developer, and Claire, who's a horse trainer. He's an Edison High School graduate, an Oklahoma State graduate, avid tennis player, and he's approaching legendary status at Christ the King for his volunteerism and involvement. And on a lighter side, a little-known fact, Kevin's college nickname was Dove Hunter, where he was feared by fowl all across western Oklahoma and southern Kansas. It is, like I said, a joy, and you should, if you don't know him now, you should get to know him because he is truly one of the greatest people in the world. Sorry. He got his red badge and pin last week, so we're all covered there. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, picture time.
Not with
Yep,
me.
they're ready.
No, you guys.
Well, no, come on in. You're the president. So,
Really?
yeah, go quick.
Thanks all night. Appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome, Kevin. Sorry for butchering your name there. It's good to have you back. As you know, this is a great place to get involved. We've got a lot of activities going on here, so get plugged in and please come up and say hi to Kevin at the end of the meeting, if you will, please. And John, thank you again for, I assume we did orientation again with Kevin? Okay, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Now, announcements. In this first one, I am so excited to share some fantastic news with you. I've been busting at the seams all week to share this with you. We have a new executive director, and our new executive director is none other than former Rotarian Tina Miller. If you'll please join me in welcoming her to the stage. Okay, maybe later. Later, we'll do it later.
We'll get it.
Okay. So yeah, is that not great news? For those of you that don't know, Tina was actually a member of this club for 8 years, from 2006 to 2014. And in those 8 years, she was busy, busy, busy. She was served on our board for half of those years. 3 years she was director at large. 1 year she was vocational service director. She chaired the vocational service committee. She chaired the yearling committee, and she was club photographer. In addition to all that, she has been to Nicaragua with our water well team 8 times. And she's been to 2 Rotary International conventions. So Tina has a heart for Rotary, and she comes with so much energy, so much passion, and so many good ideas that I'm just so excited to get to work with her. I told her earlier, I wish I could be president for another year just to be able to work longer with her. I only get a few months to work with her, but I'm so envious of Hannibal and Becky. Yes, Hannibal's back there pumped up. You all are so lucky. We're really fortunate to have Tina, and I believe to my heart that she is the right person for the right time for this club as we continue on our journey of realizing the vision of our strategic plan. So Tina asked to say just a few words to you. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Mike. And I just want to say that I am a warm weather person, And the only running I did today was across the street, real fast. So, nope, I'm good, thank you. I just want to thank you for the warm Rotary welcome when I came today. It's so good to be back here in Thomas Hall. I want to thank President Mike, the Long Range Planning Committee, and the Board of Directors for placing their trust and confidence in my ability to serve as the Executive Director. I want to real quickly just share, as I was getting ready today, thinking back and reflecting on my first day in Rotary and what it meant to me. And I remember coming here, it was 2006, into Thomas Hall. I arrived early and received my new member orientation, my red badge, my four-way test, and my new Rotary pin. I also received a gift from my sponsor. In that gift was a little box that was personalized that had my name on it where I could put my new Rotary pin. There was also, I received a framed quote that reads, "As Rotarians, we know that it is not enough to dream about a better world. A better world will only come through careful planning, honest cooperation, and hard work. As Rotarians, we will not just wait for it to happen. Together, we will lead the way." Rotary International President William Boyd. This has sat on my desk for the last 12 years beside my four-way test as a constant reminder that we have a great responsibility to use our gifts and talents to serve others. And it'll go back there, but I'm so looking forward to working with all of you and serving as a new Executive Director and in our shared commitment to making a difference. Thank you.
Isn't that great news? I'm so excited. Tina, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Now we're going to put her to work. Okay, some more announcements. Medical Supply Network, our weekend to help them load up some containers to ship off to some third world countries is coming up on March 10th. Put that on your calendar from 8 to 12. Even if you can only spend an hour there, that would be awesome. I'm going to be there. Let's get together a nice group and go help out the Medical Supplies Network. They'll have coffee and donuts. You can bring your family members, anyone you want to bring that can help us out. We'd appreciate the help. Our annual meeting with our Oklahoma City Club is coming up also, April 3rd. Put that on your calendar, and we will be putting together a busload of fun-loving people. The Oklahoma City Club is putting together some really fun activities for us. We'll spend most of the day there. And our very own George Kaiser is going to be their guest speaker that day. So let's show up en masse to support our good friend George. If you're interested in traveling, get together with either David Downing or Alicia Herrera or Tina at the Rotary office, and we will get you a spot reserved. But I suspect they're going to fill up fast, so get on that. Richard Gibbs, super Rotarian, passed away this past weekend. And Russell, our condolences to you and your sister and your family. Richard was just one of those Rotarians who always had a smile on his face, always had a positive word, an encouraging word to say. We're going to miss him. And so I think we have some notes, card notes on the table. Please jot a note to Russell and his family and keep them in your thoughts and your prayers this time, because I know it's a struggle for them. And also thoughts and prayers for Terry Paul Miller. Terry, up until recently, was the executive director for the District 6110 office where Rochelle is now. She's had some health setbacks and struggling health-wise, so if you could keep her and her husband Gary in your thoughts and prayers, that would be greatly appreciated. And we have one committee meeting this after Rotary. Above and Beyond is meeting in room 233. And I gotta add, if you're in a season of life where you're bored and need something to do, call me. There is so much stuff going on in this club right now that I can get you plugged in somewhere. I was at a committee meeting last night for Camp Enterprise, And if you want to have, that's a fun group, and they are organized and getting things done. So if you're looking for some place to get plugged in, serious, give me a buzz and we'll get you plugged in. Okay, now Jerry Barrientos is going to come to the stage with our, Jerry is the chairman of our four-way speech contest, and we have our contest winner who's going to talk to us today.
Thank you, President Mike. Thank you, everyone, for being here to support our award winner, Caroline DeCamp, daughter of Catherine and John DeCamp. She has been awarded a $500 cash prize, which I'm going to take back with me so she can do her speech. And she will actually be competing at our district level in April. And please help me give her a warm welcome as she gives us her interpretation of four-way test.
Thank you so much, Jerry, for the lovely introduction. Imagine, you're currently in high school and you have just gotten an A+ on your weekly pre-calc quiz. Even though, instead of studying for it the night before, like you probably should have been, you were text messaging all of your friends after coming home from a huge house party. And those answers weren't technically yours, but hey, you put in that effort, right? Cheating well is hard. Today, children are rarely taught the value of ethics, but Rotary's four-way test could help with that. Before they do something, students should reflect upon those 4 questions. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Although Rotary's four-way test was originally meant for the workplace, I believe it should also be taught in schools. In this speech, I'll discuss the benefits of teaching the four-way test in schools so that students may understand the importance and value of being ethical. In recent years, the expanding amount of work and diminishing time available to accomplish it before the due date has made school increasingly difficult for students. Pressure at school to complete assignments and get perfect grades has intensified. Students are overwhelmed and intimidated by this immense workload, and that's why they feel compelled to cheat in order to get the right answers instead of truly learning the material. A survey of 43,000 high school students in both public and private schools done by the Josephson Institute Center for Youth Ethics found that 59% of students admitted cheating on a test in the last year, and 34% self-reported doing it more than 2 times. If students are able to cheat their way through every test in every class, they'll be inclined to cheat further down the road after high school. This is what causes business people to be dishonest, politicians to lie, and the media to mislead. In the real world, cheaters never truly win. They can only survive up to a certain point by cheating, the point at which they're asked to perform this knowledge or skill they supposedly learned under pressure. No matter who someone is or how well they're able to deceive other people, if they cheat, they'll always get caught. Take certain modern-day celebrities and politicians, for example. Although they're in these positions of power, if they've conducted themselves poorly in the past, people will come forward and confront them about it. Hopefully, they then face serious consequences that can end their career. The four-way test could change all of this so that none of it has to happen in the first place. I first learned about the four-way test about a year ago when a really close friend told me a very personal secret. They asked me not to tell anyone, but I didn't listen, and I told another person because I didn't realize how important it was to them. My friend was mad at me because of what I did, and I felt terrible, so I decided to ask my Rotarian mom for advice. She told me about the four-way test, and I used it to discover where I had gone wrong. I apologized to my friend, but I knew that things would never be the same. The four-way test didn't completely fix things between my friend and me, but it helped, and things are better now than they would have been had I not used it at all. The four-way test has helped me make better decisions, and I can only imagine how beneficial it would be for everyone else to learn about it too. But let's get back to cheating. If a student were to consider cheating on homework or an assignment, they can run that thought through the four-way test. Is it the truth? No. Cheating is being dishonest in order to gain a personal advantage. Is it fair to all concerned? Of course not. It's not fair to the other students. What if your child or grandchild had studied for days or even weeks for a test only to have the curve be set by a cheater? That would put your child or grandchild behind and open doors and present opportunities for the cheater that your child or grandchild would never get. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Of course not. No one wants to be friends with a cheater, and people might even resent that student for cheating. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? No, it wouldn't be beneficial to the other students or even the tutor themselves because they'll never end up learning what they needed to know in the first place. The four-way test should absolutely be implemented in school curriculums across the nation. It would help create more honest, integrous, ethical generations for the future. The four-way test is a way to see if what you're doing is right, whether it's in a friendship, a classroom, a business, or anywhere else. It gives people peace of mind knowing that they're doing the right thing. If everyone would simply ask themselves those four simple questions, the world just might become a better place. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Yeah.
Great job, Caroline. You did awesome. You did awesome. I understand why your mother and father are so proud of you. They have every reason to be proud. Thank you for getting up here and doing that. Okay, Sarge, you get to follow that, buddy. Yeah. Sorry. Probably should have put you on ahead of her.
I thought we had this, I was about to say, I thought we had this agreement. That
sorry.
You let me down. Especially I'm heavily medicated because of the cold, so right now, who knows what I'm going to say. All right, so how's everybody doing? After that, we're doing all right, absolutely. All right, so sometimes you just walk in here and people throw money at you, and this happened today. So I'm going to do a live slide, is what I call it. Where's John Stava? Where is he? There, right there. I'm looking way over there. 30 years he's owned Stava business. Brought to me a check for $1,000 to celebrate the fact that he has sold his business to Kurt Helen, who's right there. So, this money going on. I don't know, is he also, are you going to join us too? Are you going to become a Rotarian? I think so. Okay, well, there we go. All right.
Kurt's wondering if that's a business check or a personal check right now.
He said, why did my negotiations go the way it did? Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so then we move on. I need a little help. I didn't get the clicker today, so. Ready? Oh, there's Mike. There's that. There we go. All right, just a moment ago, we talked about Russell's father passing away, and Friday is actually Russell's birthday. And so he donated $1,000 in memory of his father, Richard. They're going to celebrate life on his birthday and everything. So everything that he meant to it, and having a father and everything, I know that's a tough day, but it's also an exciting day for your family to be together. So thank you very much. Appreciate you. Here's Tiffany. I don't know if everybody knows Tiffany was a police officer. And anyway, I look at it, she's been fined more than anybody, I think, this year. I think she's on her third or fourth fine, and there's others to come. So for a former police officer to get as fined as much as she does, it's pretty incredible. But she has it earmarked for the above and beyond that's coming up here in a couple weeks. So thank you very much for the $250. I thought I saw Tiffany. There you go. Okay, thank you, Tiffany. Now, Barney James did $50. What you're seeing here, this is Lori Reed. I better make sure. Lori Reed Parker. This is the daughter of Bob Reed. She is actually at the Olympics right there, grading that person who's skating by and staring at her saying, it's a 10, it's a 10. Anyway, so it's very cool that she's over there in South Korea taking care of business, and congratulations. It's very nice. Bob, there you go. And speaking of international, I just thought I'd throw this picture of the pick of the week. This dog's from China. All right. I like to bring that atmosphere. Anyway, you all have a wonderful week. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Charles. Glad you're feeling better. The drugs, you couldn't tell any difference. Yeah, well, I don't. And I forgot to say, Richard's funeral services are Friday, 2 o'clock at Boston Avenue Methodist Church. So I know a lot of people here will want to be there. Okay, Rotarian of the Day today is none other than past President John O'Connor. John joined our club in 1983. He is the CEO of Newton, O'Connor, Turner, and Ketchum. and served as our president from 2003 to the year 2003 to 2004. He's a member of the Allen Edwards Society. He's a Paul Harris Fellow, a Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation Fellow, and this year serves as the chair of our Long Range Planning Committee. Please join me in welcoming to the podium John O'Connor.
Taylor Hanson is a multi-Grammy nominated singer, songwriter, producer, and entrepreneur. He's also an inductee of the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame. He's worked in the music industry for 25 years, if you can believe it, and sold more than 16 million albums as a member of the world-famous pop rock trio, Hanson. He's the CEO and co-founder of 3CG Records, Hanson Brothers Beer Company, and the Hop Jam Festival, as well as a nonprofit that focuses on extreme poverty, helping issues in people in extreme poverty in Africa. Beginning in 2014, Taylor spearheaded a new initiative called Food on the Move, focused on strengthening community partnerships around the issues of hunger and eradicating food deserts in Tulsa and in Oklahoma. He lives in Tulsa with his wife Natalie and their 5 children. Food on the Move set out to create lasting change through a pay-as-you-can system and mobile food events offering meals, fresh produce, and access to a mobile grocery store alongside health and community partners. Some of those partners include the Community Food Bank of Eastern Oklahoma, the Tulsa Health Department, Tulsa County Library, the R&G Mobile Grocery, OSU Extension, OU, oh, no, sorry, not OU. They did? Okay, OU was involved. I guess OSU got OU involved, but okay. Also, Bama, Edible Tulsa, Philbrook, the Girl Scouts, the Junior League, Teach for America, and TCC. You can tell that he's a great organizer. He's very passionate. Please help me welcome one of Tulsa's favorite sons and a person who practices service above self.
I don't think I should say anything else after an introduction like that. Thank you so much for that intro. I was going to take a moment to introduce. I have some guests, and when I look around the room, I think about Food on the Move and what we've done, and I see many folks that if they weren't already here as someone's guest, they might have been on my guest list. Throughout the room, I see folks that have stood alongside me, folks that have supported this effort, and really, I'm so grateful. I have to say for a moment, I don't know if you all realize, not being a Rotarian, I'm strongly considering joining. If nothing else, and I want, seriously, as a guy with 5 kids in 2018, just standing alongside all of you and pledging allegiance with truly meaning it is a powerful, powerful thing. And the gathering that you do each week, I want to just acknowledge and celebrate that this happens week after week. So it's an honor for me to get to speak to you all for what you do every day. So just thank you so much for inviting me to return. I won't hold it against you that you invited me back. So that's one thing we can hold against you. I want to acknowledge Rebecca Sarkar. She's my GM. She actually keeps things running in my world. Excited, Rebecca Sarkar. Aaron Herndon is my executive assistant and was in the snow and sleet last night at the Food on the Move event. Charles and Damali are here. They responded to my request last night after we left our first event for Food on the Move to be here this morning, and I'm so grateful. They're with EduRec. It's a community center which we partner with, and we are so grateful that we've been able to since 2015. So thank you so much for being here. Additionally, Mike Lemus is not technically my guest, but would have been. Mike Lemus with TCC is also a community partner for Food on the Move and is the first location we set out in 2014 in August. He was crazy enough to walk with me across the campus with, I think, Eileen from the food bank and Jeff and Katie and say, yeah, let's do this Food on the Move thing. Of course, I also have family in the room, whether it's my dad in the back, Walker Hanson, please stand up and be acknowledged, which blame him for everything that you don't like about my speech. And my mother-in-law, Pam, who was invited. I'm so grateful that she's here. If you guys will do me the, just stick with me here. I did something that was advised by my wife, which is to actually write down my statements and my comments. She said, please write it down. But before acknowledging that, I wanted to say, being introduced by John he's one of our family's oldest friends, the O'Connors. In fact, the history, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about why Food on the Move began, a little bit about what we've done since we were here and how it started, and then I'll try and leave you with something you can remember about where we're going, and we might even show some images. First of all, it's important to acknowledge knowing John and the O'Connors because our Tulsa roots go really deep. In fact, they go back to 1993, performing with my brothers in a cummerbund I still regret, at the McDazzle event. I think that was happening that year. We sang a song called The Magic of Love. And Tulsa is a part of who I am because, not because of its perfections, but really because of all of its imperfections. You love a place just like you love your family. You love them because you've been with them. They've been with you. They've taught you things. They've challenged you. They've been there in your journey. I mean, seriously, you wouldn't pick your family, right? You wouldn't. You love them because you're forced to, right? No, but growing up somewhere, a place does make you. A place does contribute to who you are. And one of the qualities that is a part of my upbringing was being here and being surrounded by an example of character, of work ethic. You know, the phrase that I coined later in life, I think it's about 2 years ago, I don't know why it wasn't on a doily my whole life growing up, which was in the Hanson household, the slogan should have been, the family that works together, works together. Just think about that for a second. We used to say when, I think my father and I building a rock path one sandstone at a time. I was probably 10. I think the child labor laws hadn't quite caught up to that yet. So all of this to say, the spirit of hard work, really good old-fashioned hard work and character is actually what I think of as being a Tulsa characteristic, an Oklahoma characteristic. When you mix that with this strange existence that I've had with my two brothers, and this is still telling you about why Food on the Move exists, we then had the push to chase the crazy dream, right? Everybody's got a garage band, or I may play some little guitar in their high school, but we really believed that we could do music, share our music, and we went for it. And we were able to do that because we were encouraged by an incredible pair of my mom and dad who weren't crazy enough, or were crazy enough to say we weren't crazy, right? They didn't say, that's nuts. They just said, okay, how are we going to do that? And they went with us. But the contrast of growing up in a place like Tulsa and then going for the big swing, right? We're going to leave what we know and we're going to go for this, and having it actually sort of work, right? That's the cocktail of those two things means I'm a dangerous person. What I mean is I learned to not fear work. In fact, I kind of like it. I learned that challenges are basically a given. They are a given. The idea that there's, hey, let's dodge that. There is no dodge. There is no around. There is only through, right? There is only through that. You don't get around the challenge. You learn how to be better at dealing with the challenge. the fact that work ethic, and then some success on the reach, the success on the crazy, like that makes me a dangerous person. Doesn't mean that it always works. It doesn't mean that the reach is always successful. In fact, most of the time it's not. But this possibility is there. So I'm going to fast forward to Food on the Move and why it started. So about 5 years ago, I felt what I like to say is like the God tap on the shoulder, which is like, you're busy, you know? A call to get more deeply involved in this community. And not just from a point of view of a specific cause, but sort of to join the table, to step, you know, to go up to the table where those that are taking the time to heal and strengthen the community. And this idea of ambassadorship, inspired by a former U.S. ambassador, and I talked about this a little bit more last time, but former U.S. ambassador, Ambassador Perkins, who did some time teaching at OU, and was the first African-American ambassador to South Africa, a man that defined the idea of building bridges and taking on challenges. He inspired me to get involved and look around. In 2014, I began to meet with people to understand the issues of hunger and what Tulsa looked like on that issue. And really with the idea being, I don't know that there is a gap, but I want to be in it if there is one. I want to be standing there, and I want to be inconvenienced by this. I do have 5 kids. I do have several businesses. There's not time, but that's just a hurdle, right? That's just something that we have to take on. So when I sat down with some of the great folks in Tulsa that are already doing things to take on hunger issues, community challenges, what we saw was a gap, and the gap was you've got a spread out city, right? And you have hungry folks in areas all around town, and meanwhile, your desire is, if we just build one more, a soup kitchen, if we could just build something, well, that's a brick and mortar deal, right? And so the hunger is all over. And so the idea being, how do we go where the hunger is, and how do we do the thing that a small business, like a grocery store, or a big business like a grocery store, isn't going to do just on the merit of how it's going to make them money tomorrow? How could we do the heavy lifting to create life in an area that is a desert? An area where neighbors don't have the ability to spend that little bit of money they have on something better for their family. Because the statistics on hunger, we often picture somebody that is just quite, on paper, immediately looks destitute, right? This person that's on the street, the homeless man or woman. But oftentimes the hunger, as you all know, and I'm speaking to the choir, the hungry do not necessarily look like it. They might be a star athlete that is getting just enough sustenance to play in the football game, right? But they really don't have, when they go home, a meal to help them compete with the other star athlete that has a nutritionist on their staff, right? They might be somebody that's working 3 jobs and has just a few dollars and a few hours, and the dollars they can spend to feed their family, they only have the time and the resources to spend it at a convenience store around the corner. They can't spend it on something that's going to be better for their family, better for their pocketbook. So I digress. So Food on the Move came together, and we formed this partnership, which is about creating pop-up events. If you look at the website, it's described as Food on the Move Mobile Food Initiative is a collaboration of community partners to combat hunger and help end food deserts through pay-as-you-can events. Okay, what does that mean? Mobile Food Initiative means we call up mobile partners. We called up food trucks and said, if you could show up 3 times a year and give away your food, would that work? They said, yes, we'll show up. He said, local farm, local producer or distributor of agriculture, of produce, could you show up and donate X amount of times? Yes, we can. Community partners that have resources in a neighborhood that are there and available, could you show up and be alongside us? Somebody that is unhireable, a musician, you, come over here, could you sing, could you play, could you DJ? Could we create a point of life? That's a mobile group, right? It's not brick and mortar. That group comes together. What is a food desert? A food desert is an area where there's not readily access to a grocery store and especially to fresh produce. And it's a term that really means we're talking about an economically challenged neighborhood, right? But when you think about the systematic removal of being able to go to a store and shop for your family, you're doubling down on the impact that neighborhood has to come back, to ever see a future, because it's not, the food desert is not the cause, it's a symptom. It's a symptom of a community that has slowly been dying. And the more those things go away, the less chances that neighborhood, those towns, that the property value of that corner house, that slow decline, it goes so steep that you can never come back. So that store is a sign that life has left. Pay as you can is, you could say pay it forward. You could say pay what you can. But it's really to say we create an event that shows up, and you don't know who's in line, if they're going to pay or if they can't. Once they go through that gateway, we have a check-in, we have one of these, and you see somebody that's stopping for their lunch break to get into Lini's or Bohemia, and you see somebody behind them that is there because they may not eat for the next 3 days. They're going to walk through that gate. They're going to get, their name's going to go in. We're going to know they were there. We're going to know their address or their phone number, what they choose to share, by the way. Black, white, red, green. Nobody ever says, I'm not comfortable giving you my information. That never has happened. People want to share who they are. They're happy to. And they want to know how to be told when there's produce, when there's food, when there's resources. So the Pay As You Can event, that's been going since 2014. We did our first pilot event at the Horticulture Center, which is, the program unfortunately has now been closed, but that site, the GCC Northeast campus in 2014, on a hot, hot August day, we did an event there. We have since then continued to do monthly events there and at Edgerec, which is just straight down Peoria, not far from McLean High School. And we've hosted events consistently. We've hosted more than 50 events. We've served thousands of individuals. But really, statistics on this thing, and I'm going to try and fast forward. This is where writing things, I'm actually having to read them. The power of Food on the Move is really not about saying, look at these stats, because you do have to look at measurable results. You have to say, what the heck are we doing? Is this just let's go to a poor area and let's feel good about ourselves? No, this is finding people where they are. You cannot expect to change an issue from the outside. You can't expect to have dollars and just drop them into a bucket and wonder why people don't respond. The change we're talking about is the decline of a community, the decline of trust, the decline of a sense that you can do better in your neighborhood than your kids did, or than your parents did, and that your kids have an opportunity. It's the great American dream. It truly is. So when I think of success, I know many, many of the names of folks that have returned time after time, and I also know the partners that have grown and asked to join us. Quite frankly, we have more people wanting to join us than we have the bandwidth to manage. So that's a good problem. But I'm going to just list a few of the partners and some of the names, just for a second, because the success of this is the ability to have, 5 years ago, walked into a place like Edgerec, where you had a school that was a former Wiley Post Elementary School that a church took over, World One took over, and on that day when I walked in, I was saying, hi, nice to meet you. How are you? Oh, I'm Taylor. Oh, I've never been here. I can't believe you're doing that with this classroom. Today is the morning after we did an event in a sleety storm where I walked in and high-fived Ramal, Charles, Damali, on down the list. This idea that these are relationships that are based on actually trusting one another. You can't criticize someone you don't know. You wouldn't walk up to someone that isn't a friend and say, don't know about that shirt. That was probably a bad call. And so how do you expect to change things? How do you expect to improve things that are people's lives without believing and trusting in valuing and respecting those people, right? If we do not go where the challenge is, we cannot expect to create real change. We cannot do it with arms crossed. We have to do it with sleeves rolled up. That's just it. There's no other way. Our partners now are so many, and they rotate because we said it's in kind. If you can show up, boom, we got a table for you. We got a truck spot for you. Community partners, the food bank, Tulsa Health Department, RNG Mobile Grocery Store, the mobile grocery store, Tulsa Community College, the library, OSU Extension, Teach for America, Go Fresh, Edible Tulsa, Gruity, OU Health, EduRec, KJM's radio station, Philbrook Museum, Bama, Girl Scouts Beyond Bars. We're really excited to have them. Food trucks include Andolini's, Teton Gourmet, Mangiamo's, Bohemia, Rub, Doghouse. The list goes on. People, Mike Lemus, Michael Grogan, the local weatherman that coordinates our volunteers month after month. Scott Phillips, the programmer that got a team of programmers in a weekend to design the interface, which we register people through a digital gateway, whose 19-year-old programmer is now working for Google and moonlighting our updates on our site. Tina Pena, who is a Spanish teacher who translates and also teaches at TCC. And it took 6 months until she was like, oh, you're Taylor Hanson. What are you? This is band music. You didn't, any of that. None of that stuff mattered. That was I'm sorry, that was a terrible accent I just did. She's wonderful. She's wonderful. And she's a gift to us. Chris Walker, a dancer that we met years ago that became one of our first helpers, volunteers that led us to EduRec. And it goes on down the list. Ed Lyles, the truck driver that's a DJ that has shown up and done events with us and was there last night in the sleet. Vincent, who runs Teton Gourmet, one of our first food truck supporters, who has a sticker on the side of his truck that says Food on the Move and has for 5 years. Just first names, Jeff, Josh, Michelle, Scott, Aaron, Trevor, my team, the Hanson team that donates time, Rebecca, to designing flyers, showing up early, setting up tents. This is what Food on the Move is. We have begun to see real change. Honestly, this room is part of the example. The conversations that we're having are really about Tulsa being better. Hungry people are not able to do good things. Look at what you're doing today. You show up and you eat. So what you do to the least of these, right? The least, you can't contribute to the world without being fed. So to understand the issues of food deserts is extremely complex. But what Food on the Move is set out to do was to be the ones to do the heavy lifting. And so we have spent now almost 5 years doing the heavy lifting, building trust, building partnership, creating a runway to take off to have that plane take off, and to create opportunity to say to partners, to investors, to say there's young entrepreneurs that would start a store, there's a neighborhood that would support from the community, there's a desire from leadership to stand alongside and make this a priority. And we want to not drive west 2 miles or north 2 miles or east 2 miles from Guthrie Green and find ourselves in a neighborhood that we would not want to put on a postcard without a grocery store. I grew up on the west side of town. First place I saw poverty was performing in a school when I was 10, and there was more than one girl that had essentially not a shirt on and hardly a pair of shoes, right? That is right here. And not too long ago, that one grocery store in that neighborhood, the Warehouse Market, closed, which thankfully there's some good stewards that are desiring to take that over, and we will be there with you. So let me talk about, is everybody good? You guys still with me? Allow me to get a soapbox after I play you guys some videos, a video. Last night, we were in the sleet at EduRec for our first event of this year. We usually skip January because, quite frankly, January is just such an unknown that we ended up saying 3 years in, you know what, January, we're all going to rest and plan for February. If there's only 3 people there, we're not serving anybody. But we were there for our first night, and I called Charles. I said, man, it's looking ugly. He said, the barbers from TCC are coming to do the free haircuts. They're in. The dancers, the dance troupe is coming. And I said, great, because I got a lot of produce on a truck. Let's do it. But in that moment, we also grabbed some photos, and I put together a few other images. I want to just show you a couple images of what Food on the Move actually is. And this is nothing glamorous, but it is a sense of the spirit of these events. This is some from last night and a few from throughout the last 4 years. So go for it.
Well, I hope it comes now. Well, I hope it comes soon. Well, I think it's about time I stop waiting for you, for you.
So I'm going to leave you with one more thing. I was given hey, you need to wrap it up. So I was trying to describe this feeling I had to my wife, who is a saint, because we all had the flu about a week ago, all 5 kids, aside from everything else. And I was explaining the feeling I had about what I believe is required to get from where we are to where we need to be. We also often think of things like volunteer hours as this sort of optional deal, right? We're good folks if we have time to do and help make a difference, step outside of our day job. This is an issue that is greater than that. If you had an enemy coming at the door, if you saw somebody that was coming to injure your family, to come with, you would put those that were vulnerable in a safe place. You would grab whatever you could and you would charge, right? You would take on that enemy. You would use whatever resources you had to create the opportunity to survive. And when I think about the opportunity to wake up in a great American city and believe that you can invest in your neighborhood, that you can spend your money in your neighborhood, that you can provide for your family at a grocery store, that you can have the possibility of better through your own hard work, through your own dedication. I think that this issue is a question of survival. This is not an optional deal. The question is, do we fight for our own survival? Do we arrive at this issue of hunger, of food deserts, of access, and say, our future depends on these decisions? And by the way, you all are already in the category or 2 are doing great things, so don't take my tone as being accusatory. But we have an opportunity to treat hunger and access to food as a mark of our own survival. and to treat it with the urgency and the excitement and the drive and the ingenuity that we would give to saving our own family. And if we can do that, there is absolutely no question that in the next coming years we will be talking about the change that has come. And I really, really look forward to that. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Taylor, thank you very much. Thank you for your passion. You are a gift to our community. You make Tulsa a better Tulsa, and we appreciate that. And we appreciate your family. I know there's a family behind you, and we appreciate all that the Hansons are doing in our community. Love the video. Love the band behind it, if you know who that is. I'd love to have their name. That's great music. My daughter fell in love with that many years ago. So, as I said, a book recognizing your talk to us today will be presented to our adopted school, Celia Clinton, and the title of our book is Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History. So we appreciate you signing that for the students. A couple upcoming programs. Next week we have Bill Masterson, the Tulsa World publisher, who will be talking to us about the Tulsa world in an era of fake news. So that will be interesting, no doubt. And then the week after that, on March 7th, is our annual Above and Beyond Awards that we started in 2008, where we recognize a police officer and a firefighter of the year who do great things in the community and go above and beyond what most people do in our community. So that's always a special program. Please invite a guest and come to that. So now I encourage you, go out, tell your Rotary story, and don't forget to bring a friend to Rotary next week. We are dismissed.